back to another edition of the Dot Comedy Podcast. I am your host, DJ Marcus, and you're joining me live in the Dot Comedy Studios. I'm never alone in the studio, except for those days when they leave me alone. I'm joined by my boy Joey LaFaro. Joe, say hello to people.
Are we all the way up? Is that what's happening right now?
Yeah, I had to take it all the way up, baby. Okay. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up.
Okay.
All the way up.
And that voice you hear, that sultry, salacious voice, I don't know, another adjective to use.
That icon in the center of the screen.
The icon in the middle of the screen is Miss Candace August. Candace, say hello to the people.
Y'all gotta get a picture of me, like just a static picture that y'all can put on there when I don't want to put my camera on.
There is a static picture
Yeah,
of you
No.
from your account, but it's still small. It's just like a little circle in the middle of this giant screen that we put there so that our guest, our virtual co-host could have a whole seat at the table.
Yes, that is your spot. You would be, if you were in the studio, you'd be at the center of the table between me and Joey, which you are currently. But now, since you don't,
I'm gonna give you like a plethora of pictures, and you can put like a slideshow that plays right there on the days when I don't turn my camera on.
So every week, every week, that's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna do that every week, huh, Joey?
Well, I'm getting my hair done tomorrow, so I'll be on camera next week.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Is that the process? It's hair done or not? I thought it was shirt on or not. I thought that.
Also, I actually have a shirt on today, but my hair looks a mess.
Lord Jesus, it's okay. All right. Well, Joey, we're back, buddy. Last week's episode of Mr. Stu Clark, one of our highest rated episodes on the internet.
It's rated? We have ratings?
We have ratings. Yes, sir.
I didn't know we had ratings.
The Academy of Podcasting and Associations, they do monthly ratings, and we got back ours. We got a 3.5 last week.
Okay.
No, podcasting's an association.
The 3.5 is out of 10,047,000, but that's the highest rating we've had.
Is the network pleased with this?
The network is pleased. They're keeping us on for another season. So we will have a season 4 since we've had so much discussion as far as what season 3 it was. We will be starting season 4 2022 in January of 2022, season 4 of the Dot Comedy Podcast. We've been brought back once again, Joey.
Wait, what?
We've been brought back for season 4 of the Dot Comedy Podcast.
Okay. Oh, you mean next year?
Next year.
Oh, you always scared me. I thought we were starting season 4. And I'm like, today, this is season 3, episode 9. So
okay, yeah. Well,
at least I thought it was. So if it's not, then oops.
It's season. Okay. We had okay.
If it wasn't, it is now.
We're gonna pull back the curtain on the Dot Comedy Podcast, Joey.
Uh-oh, I don't like it when that happens.
Because much like our 100th episode, there's going to be controversy when we get to 200.
You know what happens when we do that? The audience clicks their heels and goes, "There's no place like home," and then they leave.
Then they leave. Okay. Well, there will be controversy on the 200th episode, Joey, because the numbers don't add up. Because we have 2 different seasons going at one time right now. There was a battle backstage. The producers who edit and get the shows together each week for public consumption, they were battling as far as what season we were in and what episode we were on. So if you were paying attention at home, this is season 2, episode 18. And if you're not paying attention at home, it is season 3, episode 9.
I don't think that's how that works. Anyway.
Well, we have a Jewish calendar left over from our old assistant intern that we were going by, and somehow we went to the Roman calendar somewhere in the neighborhood of last.
Just like in history.
Just like history went. But yeah, Joey, man, this week, man, it's been it seems like last week was a long time ago.
It does.
It does. It's been exactly a week since we were last on the air.
It was a busy week.
It was a pretty busy week.
A lot happened.
We had our first Dot Comedy outing in a while. We haven't had a real outing in a while. We had Steaks and Spades night, the Dot Comedy Steaks and Spades night,
which was 50% successful.
Yes, it turned into Dot Comedy Steaks night.
It was steaks and nostalgic music videos night.
Yes, it was DJ Marcus doing what DJ Marcus does best: play the hits. That's what I do. I do my level best to play all the hits, Joey. So we hung out. Avocado Phil was in the building. Your lady was in the building.
Yes.
DJ Marcus was in the building. And Jolo LaFaro.
I honestly think it was her fault. I think she was trying to avoid learning playing spades.
So she just let the night just be.
I'm pretty sure that's how that went down.
Okay. Well, Candace, you know how to play spades? I know you went to Howard and they kind of teach you there or something. And like a course you take at Howard.
Of course, I know how to play spades. You cannot graduate from an HBCU and not know how to play spades.
Here's the thing. I know that she at least thinks she knows how to play spades because I still haven't been reimbursed for a bottle of balsamic vinegar that got broken in order to play spades during a barbecue.
Yeah, that is true.
House.
That is very true. That balsamic vinegar costs $49.99. We're waiting on that.
This is the thing that's hilarious about that story. There was a girl, I don't know if it was your cousin or something. Who was that white girl that was there with me that at the time when I broke the bottle of vinegar? She had like brown hair. I feel like it was maybe a cousin of yours or something.
She who will not be named. I know who she's talking about. Okay,
so anyway, I dropped the bottle of vinegar and wait, let me let you guys discuss amongst yourselves.
I don't.
She was there with like her boyfriend or something. I don't know. I thought it was your cousin.
I can't.
The guy's baby mama.
What?
Who's baby mama? I don't know. She seemed kind of a younger-ish girl. Maybe she was somebody's baby mama.
She was very young.
I have so many randos come through.
Russia.
That was 4th of July. The
Russian baby mama.
Russian baby mama. I don't remember.
Let's discuss it after the show, but let me tell you what happened.
Yeah, you'll have to remind me later.
So I dropped this bottle of balsamic vinegar. It was very dark to the color.
Oh, yeah.
And so, oh my God, I have to clean this up. And the first thing that I saw were some towels that you had in there. Mm-hmm. So I'm wiping it up with the towels. And she's like, no, don't use those because you're going to ruin the towels. I was like, honey, I'm not worried about ruining the towels. I don't want it to stain the grout on the floor. That's more expensive. These fucking towels can be replaced. Mm-hmm. I don't want it to stain the grout, right? So we go out and we tell you, and she's like, oh, we ruined the towels. And I'm like, I was trying to save the grout. And you were like, but my vinegar. Like, you didn't give a fuck.
I may have been a little bit drunk at the time.
Or the towels.
None of that mattered. You broke his vinegar bottle. Fuck that grout.
That big bottle that was a Costco bottle of balsamic vinegar that is not cheap.
No.
Balsamic vinegar in general is not cheap. And then like when you buy it in bulk, you're trying to save, but that's only if you get to use
all
the
of
entire bottle.
And you had a good half a gallon left in there.
Oh, it was a good amount.
It was quite a bit, which is why she and I were concerned about staining of various items in your house. Yeah. And you didn't care about either of those things. You were like, God damn it, my vinegar.
Oh man, but yeah, those are fun times, Joey. I DJ'd that night.
Yes, you did.
I played all the hits. There were little kids
in the rain.
In the rain,
no less.
Little kids running around telling me they wanted to hear clean versions of songs I didn't have clean versions of.
I remember that D'Angelo and Alex were there. And they were kind of playing grab ass.
They were playing Gay Chicken.
And in front of my mother.
Gay Chicken.
In front of my mother, which was
Gay Chicken. They were playing Who's Gonna Get Fucked Tonight.
And my mom just was like, "Oh,
I don't remember this Gay Chicken. When was that? Was that before I arrived?
No, it was at the end of the night.
No, it was towards the end. I don't know. You might have left already, but that definitely.
They got drunk enough to where they started playing Gay Chicken, and that's usually white boy fun. It's always surprising when black guys.
How do the rules of Gay Chicken go? What are the rules of engagements?
Hey, if you don't say it's gay, it's not gay. So whoever gets fucked in the ass wins the game.
I don't like that game.
It's not a fun game. It ain't fun. I've never played personally. I choose not to. Hey, it's safe for other people. That's a Little Nas X game. That's the X Games.
I tried to once with a friend's husband, and just to make her feel uncomfortable because it was funny. But then it wasn't funny anymore, and I stopped.
It stops getting funny after a few minutes. If you're straight, it stops getting really.
Well, it was only because this friend had previously told me that she had a nightmare about me and her husband running away together because we got along so well.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was just to like mess with her at that point.
Okay.
But then I was like, this feels weird. This is a little too much.
See, I've played racial chicken.
What?
See, racial chicken's more fun.
How does that work?
Racial chicken's more fun. It's when you're in an elevator full of white people, and you're white female,
and you try your best to make them uncomfortable,
and you make them comfortable as fuck. So my white female friend, her name is Andrea. She would stand on the other side, like we would go to casinos or whatever. She would stand on the other side of the elevator from me, and I'd be like, "Baby, why are you all the way over there? It's 2019. They will accept our love. You can stand next to me. It doesn't."
Oh, that.
Oh yeah, you've been privy to that.
This is.
But I've never been called on it. so it's always funny to watch people's faces when you, baby. These white people don't need to understand us to the amount of love I have for you right now. You can come over here, be next to me, love me.
I don't call that racial chicken. I call that Marcusing. Because it was very similar to that time we were at King's Dominion, and you like made friends with the security guard from the long ago when you guys used to work together, but you didn't
never work
together.
DJ Marcus has a sordid history with people with name badges, because he's worked in the service industry for a number of years. So when you have a name badge, I tend to talk to you as if I know you because I know your name now.
Marcus is the person that reads the name tags.
Yes. So if your name is John, and you walk up to me, I'm like, "Hey, John, how you doing today?" And you'll look down and be like, "Oh, shit, how do you know my name?"
No. Here's how it went. The first, 8 people that were employees at King's Dominion, he would say hello by name and then say, "Isn't it a great day to be at King's Dominion?" As if he was their manager, trying to make sure that they were smiling. And then we were in line for, I think it was the Volcano roller coaster. And that, I don't even know what it's called anymore, because they keep rebranding everything.
The Blast Coaster.
The Blast Coaster. All right, fine. The Blast Coaster, and this tiny white security guard named Nick, which in retrospect, it's really weird that he was a security guard because he was really small.
He was a security guard at King's Dominion.
He was a toy security guard.
He's not going to be too big.
Guarding nothing. He's suggesting things.
Hey, he suggested you stay in line before we pull that nightstick out.
He's suggesting security. Anyway, Nick goes, "Oh shit, I remember you from Safeway or some other store."
No, it was Giant.
It was Giant. Mm-hmm. Now the funny part is, Marcus previously has worked at Giant.
I have worked at Giant.
So at this point, it's anyone's game.
So it just becomes okay, who's going to be more ridiculous in how we know each other? And he beat me. He was like, "Yeah, man, it ain't been the same since you left. Like 5 people quit since you were gone." I was like, "Wait a minute, is Timmy still there? Is Tim and John still there?" And he was like, "Nah, they left right before I did." I was like, "Wait a minute, hold on, who the fuck are these people?"
Candace, I shit you not, this went on an entirely too long time.
Yes.
Because the line, we actually got to the tunnel.
Yeah, to go into the ride. And
so I'm confused. Did he really know you, or you were just playing along?
I don't know if we knew each other.
We're not sure.
We still don't even know to this day. Because I did not remember him at all, and I don't remember I can tell you the honest truth. I remember 2% of the employees who worked under me at any of these companies I worked for.
But he remembered you working at an entirely different Giant than you ever worked at. So we're pretty sure.
I've never worked in Southern Virginia in my entire career at Giant Food or Safeway. So I'm not sure where the hell he knew me from.
But some sort of Marcus doppelganger did, or The real question is, that was racial chicken because we don't know how racist he was to think that
This other black guy I
you.
used to know. This other black guy I used to know. He used to work at the Giant with me. You must be him, because all y'all look alike. Like when I got to my new job, that happened. That happened on a number of occasions. Like people would call me the other Marcus, and I finally met the other Marcus. He was a foot taller than me, and the side of a barn bigger than me. And I'm like, how the fuck did y'all think that was me? Like this dude was a behemoth next to me, and I'm a big dude. He was the.
I think Nick's Marcus was Marcus with a K, and he was really skinny.
He thought I just gained weight because I lost my job. Well, that could work too, Joe. Oh man, but Joey, we getting some crazy shit going on in the world, man.
Yes, we do.
The world is turning and turning and turning. We got people marrying their maybe sister. We got people slapping meat. We got celebrities out here doing what celebrities do.
Oh, so we're not going to talk about what happened this week?
What else happened this week?
We didn't talk about anything this week. All of these stories.
What else happened? What else happened to you this week, man?
I had an interesting weekend.
What happened, bro?
First, there may or may not be a serial killer in Beltsville.
Okay.
I happened to be at Costco, and there you can tell a lot about somebody by what's in their shopping cart, or the lack thereof.
Okay.
If someone are you not alarmed by the fact that there was a man leaving Costco with two items that were both the same exact can of Dunkin' Donuts coffee?
Was he white?
Ish.
He was white-ish.
Okay, first of all, if he's a white male, he's already predisposed to being a serial killer. But also, I don't understand why purchasing coffee is serial killer-esque to you. Could you explain that to us?
It's the fact that he did it at Costco on a Saturday morning.
You can't buy Costco on Saturday. You can't buy coffee on Saturday morning.
You don't just buy
coffee.
coffee at Costco on Saturday.
It's the you don't go through the trouble of primetime Costco for if it's something
you could get at the grocery store like that same time.
Exactly. Like if there was something like item, at least if it was some item that like, okay, it's really only makes sense to buy this at Costco. Like if you're buying like 2 giant packs of hamburgers for a barbecue that day, that I can understand. Mm-hmm. It's a better value than anything else. But for 2 cans of coffee, you could have gotten any other time.
Yeah.
From any other store.
And it would have been cheaper at any other store, too.
Yeah, exactly. The only reason you need that much coffee is if you've been up all night digging graves.
Perhaps he's a truck driver.
Yeah, but he had that like detached like serial killer shuffle.
Serial killer shuffle. What does that mean?
You slightly when you're walking and you don't pick up your back leg quite enough.
Like dragging your feet.
You kind of drag your foot, but you don't drag it all the way, so it looks like you're still moving. It's like where Kaiser Sose did in The Usual Suspects.
Except less exaggerated.
Except less exaggerated of the lip.
It's slight lip.
It's like you're pulling that leg, but it's still working a little bit.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it's just that everything about the dude was just a little off.
Okay.
Including the choice of like, you understand, his clothes were the color of mud, like the jacket and the pants, to where the point where like you wouldn't know. You can't tell if he's been digging graves all night because it already is that color.
So he's wearing mud camo.
And I've never been more angry at those guys that check the receipts, because I was like, if there was a time to intervene.
So what do you think he was doing with the coffee, Joey? Just that's going to keep him wired for the rest of the day?
I think it's so he can keep going and find his next prey or finish burying whatever, chopping up whatever body.
I would have went, since he bought the Costco size thing of coffee, he's pouring it on top of the body to get the dogs off the scent. So when the dogs start digging, They
That does make sense.
they won't check because they'll go, oh, it's just coffee that was spilled out in my yard.
Yep.
There you go. That's how we figure out the serial
Anyway.
killer.
I was there because I was buying flowers because I had to because my girlfriend decided that Saturday was a great day to meet her family.
All right, Joey meets the family.
I did, and I was.
Oh my goodness! Did you have a good evening with them?
Well, here's the thing. I appreciated being invited. What I didn't appreciate is that we did it on 4, 3, 2, 1. So it was like the final countdown. Like I didn't need that added pressure.
So did you feel a tinge of discomfort in the air by meeting the family?
No, it was a little unusual. Like it's weird to get to an event that you're told to be there on time, and then everyone at the house that you're going to is late within their own home.
Hey, Candace.
Joey, I thought you were used to dealing with blacks. Why are you surprised? You should know this. This is a basic thing. This is elementary.
I'd be surprised I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a place we were all going to.
Mm-hmm.
But you live this. I'm going to your house.
Doesn't matter.
How are you be late to your own house?
How does grandma not finish cooking till 7:00 when everybody's supposed to be there to eat at 4? No one knows.
Exactly.
No one understands black people logic, Joey. It's we started late preparing this shit, so we're not ready to go when you get there. And as I told you after we talked about this on Saturday, be prepared to be on time to everything, but be prepared to be late leaving if you're meeting up with the rest of them.
I mean, I wasn't worried about it. Like I just was like confused.
You were confused. I get you.
It was disorienting because you get in there and then you're like, okay, so when's this gonna start? I don't like. Here's the thing. I don't appreciate being left alone with my own thoughts. That's really what it is.
You get scared?
I'm more scared of my subconscious than I am anything else in the world.
I get you on that. I will talk myself into it.
Amen to that. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I actually tweeted something about that the other day, right? Because I was up, I couldn't sleep. It was like 3 a.m. And I was like, what did people do with their own thoughts before like the internet? When you couldn't just mindlessly scroll through Instagram and you just had to be alone with your thoughts at 3 a.m. when you wake up in the middle of the night? That shit is fucking terrifying.
Depends on how far back you go. If it was
let's say in the 50s, like what did they do in the middle of the night when they couldn't sleep? They just had their own thoughts in their own head. Yeah, well, I guess they had TV in the 50s.
They didn't think about anything back then. Well, you thought about the Klan if you were black.
Okay, you know what?
You thought about racial unrest if you were white.
But you just have your own thoughts. There's not really a distraction. There's not an electronic distraction. If you're waking up in the middle of the night and it's 1942, whatever, you don't have any electronic distraction. It's just you and your fucking thoughts in the dark at 2 a.m. That shit is terrifying.
You stay asleep.
I mean,
back then I think they stayed asleep more than we do.
I mean, look at that generation though. Now they make more sense.
They're great.
Yeah, they are truly disturbed and hateful, and it's because they had no distractions from their evil.
That was Candace's generation. I mean, we do remember that. We always want to keep a marker.
Did you have to go there, Marcus? We were doing so well today. We were doing so well getting along.
I heard the ice clink in your glass a little too loud, and I had to throw in that jab because I know you're drunk on the other side. so
this is the first one. I'm not drunk yet. We're getting there.
We're getting there. Oh man!
That's what they did, right?
They drank.
So they drank. Yeah, they drank and beat their wives. I guess that's how they fucking like got off their stress back in the day.
You know, all those,
they damn sure didn't go to like therapists. They didn't do that shit.
You know all those stories of those kids that wake up in the middle of the night and their dad just beating their mom. It's because he couldn't sleep.
Yeah, and because again they didn't have antidepressants. There was no Prozac in the 40s, right? They just drank a lot of alcohol and fucking beat their wives.
Yeah. It's her fault. She's a lunatic. That's why.
And weed was still criminalized, so you couldn't
go smoke weed.
I literally had to do that the other night because I couldn't
smoke weed.
So here's the thing:
Joey LaFaro smokes weed.
No, you can't. So it's one thing to be able to watch TV to help yourself fall asleep and have a distraction right up until that moment, so you can avoid the mind running wild thing when you're by yourself. When you have a partner with you and they fall asleep before you do, you need to be able to go to another room and find other distractions, or you need a medically induced coma. So the other day, my option was to go cut a piece of weed butter and hit that shit as hard as I could.
Just eat weed butter?
I also tend to choose medically induced coma. And my go-to is a Tylenol PM and a glass of wine.
Your liver hates you.
Yeah, your liver.
What liver?
See,
I destroyed that shit years ago.
See, mine. All right, I'll be honest with you. It involves porn. I'm not gonna lie about it. If I wake up in the middle of the night and my mind is wandering and I'm like, oh, I can't.
I thought you were talking about your liver, and I was really confused.
No, masturbation will knock you out too. That's also a good strategy.
It will. It's always a good thing.
Again, can't do that with your partner. Well, you could, but
got to be careful.
True. Yeah.
That's a whole.
Yeah. No, it's you're limited as to when you can do it.
Depends how big.
Why are you taking so many late night showers?
Did you wake up sweating again? That's the perfect alibi if you need to go off and when they're sleeping next to you. I woke up and I was real sweaty. I had to go take a shower.
Sometimes I'll do the Tylenol PM and also the masturbation, just like a double whammy to knock me right out.
Trying to make sure you go straight to sleep.
Go to sleep on a positive thought. Okay.
Hey, flick that bean if you need to. DJ, scratch it.
Yeah, I'll scratch the record real quick sometimes to go to sleep. Especially if I forgot to get the fucking Tylenol, I'll scratch the record real quick.
That's what I'm talking about.
That doesn't always work for us.
What? What doesn't work for us?
Masturbating for men doesn't always make you tired. Like I know for women, like every time it usually goes pretty hand in hand. Mm-hmm. For guys, it's more complex.
I've masturbated to sleep and I've masturbated to wake up. I've done both. It's a weird thing.
You ever try to masturbate to sleep and it wakes you up?
Yes, I have. And that's when I play video games in the middle of the night for the next 5 hours.
If that doesn't that's a really weird place to be in. When you're trying to go to sleep and you try masturbation and it has the reverse effect, and now you're like, oh, if that didn't work, what the fuck am I supposed to do?
Well, then okay.
Then you're playing video games with that distressed look on your face. I hope I fall asleep again someday.
It never has the reverse effect for me. So I never masturbate and now I'm wired and up. It always is something that puts me to sleep.
Yeah, I think it's a guy.
I don't know what kind of person it has the opposite effect on.
Men.
It's natural. No, I mean, because an orgasm universally is something that tires you out. You're spending a lot of energy to do so. So it should put you to sleep.
Men don't expend that much energy to orgasm. If you truthfully look at it, the reason men are really tired after sex is because we are holding back the orgasm that was supposed to happen 10 minutes and 49 seconds ago. And so we're tired because we're mentally drained at the end of sex. Because truthfully, if you look at the average man, he'll tell you, I was supposed to come way in the long ago.
It's that you're holding back the orgasm, and it's also the physical thing that you're doing, lifting, pumping. You're a lot of times doing a lot of the physical work.
I ain't lifted the bro. Oh wait,
I have.
I haven't lifted a chick in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing that. You're doing a lot of pumping. You're doing a lot of the physical movements too.
Yeah, yeah, bridging.
Bridging is a kind of lifting.
Bridging is a kind of lifting. Hey. That's why my hips are all fucked up. I think I need to get back on skinny chicks for a minute. I think I've misaligned my pelvis a little bit.
Not misaligned.
Those are big girls. It kind of throws off your weight ratios in your body.
Like you, Marcus,
is that why physical therapist has to keep realigning
just a waste?
What do you mean it's a waste?
Because you're such a large dude, you can handle a larger woman. So it's
a waste. That is not true.
Why not?
No, you need strong men to handle large women.
That's
big
true.
Big men don't necessarily want to be with big women. Okay.
The bed definitely doesn't want.
The bed doesn't want this big couple anyway. Like you got to replace mattresses over and over again if you got a big couple in the bed.
We're not even that big. We broke my bed twice.
Oh my goodness.
Joey, what the fuck are y'all doing?
Theatrics.
Mm.
Those theatrics. Those
For
theatrics.
real.
Joe is a thespian in that ass.
All right.
All right now. What type of acrobatics y'all got going
There
on?
you go,
Breaking
man.
beds. Oh my god.
Picking them up and dropping them down. That's what I talk about. Hey. Oh man, but yeah, I like.
It wasn't all the glamour that you might imagine.
Well, the end result when the bed broke was not a glamorous moment, but up until then, you were doing some shit you shouldn't have been doing.
Okay, so who was on top when the bed almost broke?
When the bed broke, he broke it twice.
You broke it. You actually broke it twice?
Yes.
Jesus, Joey.
He broke it in planks, man. That fucking box spring.
Those planks aren't supported properly, and I have a split box spring. So it's kind of those planks don't really have much of a chance.
Yeah, you're not winning that battle. I used to keep my bed on the floor for that reason. Like I used to never put it on a frame because I was like, if I'm be humping on this bed, it just needs to be low to the ground. It needs to be on the ground. That way it doesn't splay out, and I just end up flopping down on the ground.
It's weird that both my brothers sleep with their mattresses on the ground, but for entirely different reasons.
Wait, you have another brother besides Thomas?
Me.
That was the implication.
I did not know that you had two brothers. I thought you just had the one.
Me.
Wait, all right, got it.
How did you have to repeat
biologically, it's only Thomas, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. Got it.
I could be a stepdad, but that's a whole other conversation we're not going to have right now. But
Yo, the Joey's mom is hot jokes have been running since like fucking 2015.
they've been running since 1986. The joke.
Actually,
Joey doesn't even know how to respond to that.
the only time that they haven't been was when she was married to my father, because marriage just sucked out so much of her energy level.
Because they went, how the fuck he get her? Really? That's the couple? That's the couple we're talking about right now. And they went, oh, okay, well, guess something wrong.
Okay. Since you brought up marriage and sucking out the energy, I want to ask you something.
Sucking
Seriously,
up the energy.
think in your mind, and you can
direction.
each take like a couple of seconds to think about it. And I want you to give me an answer. Of the people that you know that are married, what percentage of the couples do you think are actually happy? Seriously, if I think about the couples that I know, I want to say like 20% are actually happily married. Think about it. Give me an answer.
Okay, the issue I have with that is the only couples I know. I know young couples, and I would say 0% of the young couples I know that are married are happy.
This is what I'm talking about. Okay.
The older couples I know, they're happy now. They're happy now because they've gone through.
They've just given up and they're like, "This is what my life is."
Well, no, they've gone through some stuff, so now they've built a happiness on top of all the stuff they've gone through. Like they've gotten through the war, and now they're like, all right, you know what? This is peacetime, and I like this person still.
I mean, I'm trying to count all the marriages I'm like aware of.
Right. Just think about the people that you know, old, young, whatever, that are married. How many do you think are actually happy? It's very few for me.
I feel like for me it's like 3 out of 5, but I also
so that's more.
But that also is kind of like confirmation bias, because there are some that I knew going in. I was like, and my opinion is kind of like also not direct. Like I'm not with them every day, and I haven't been around them. But of the ones, and it's I think it's outwardly they'd all say yes.
Yeah, everyone say yes. They're happy.
But the ones that I know, I think I am around, and I feel like there's kind of a glow there, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's probably about that's kind of the ratio that I would count. It's still most of them, but that's also like ones I would have I was like, you could tell going in that it was gonna stay that way.
You can tell when people are happy versus they're saying they're happy. You can tell that. It's just like you said, the glow, right? And
Well,
I just
it
feel
also-
like people are always like saying, "Oh, when are you going to get married? When are you going to doing this?" And if you look at their marriage, they're fucking miserable.
Well-
and they're trying to push that institution on somebody else when they're not even happy.
I don't think it's necessarily the institution that matters one way or another. It's, for me, the way it works to me is either you felt like you were in the relationship so long that you had to either get married or leave, and if you got married because you were too scared to leave, those are the ones that are unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that
got married because there was a kid, or the ones that got married because their religion said they had to. All the ones that got married because of any other reason besides they just wanted to be married.
Right, but that's
They're
also
fucking miserable.
Yeah, that's also because you're afraid to leave, right? For whatever reason. I'm afraid to leave because I don't want, my kid to not have two parents. I'm afraid to leave because my family will perceive it. I'm afraid to leave because I don't know what most of them are is I'm afraid to leave because I don't know if I'll find anything else.
Yeah.
But that's also just like, and it's weird that we've gotten to this subject, but one thing that I think is like true that I don't think people talk about enough is people always talk about like their greatest fear in life, in it being, oh, I'm afraid of heights. Oh, I'm claustrophobic. Oh, I'm afraid of talking to large groups of people. It's none of that. You know what the biggest, most common, like greatest fear is? It's like starting over. It's like going into that unknown where you have to kind of find a new normal for yourself outside of a relationship. Reestablishing that is terrifying. It's one of the, it's like you could have the most brave, but like ask them to do that. Ask them to like really
step outside themselves.
Step outside who you are in the relationship and find out who you are again without it.
Yeah.
Like that's terrifying.
Mm-hmm. I don't think starting over is a big fear for people, but also being lonely is a big fear for people. And they're like, this is the person that I'm with. I already have this person, so let me just stay here. It's not about starting over because they don't have to start over, right? They can just be by themselves. But that's not an option. People are like terrified to be alone, and they're making these decisions for these relationships based on that, and then they're miserable.
It's both because like who you are in a relationship is not who you are outside of one, and figuring out like who that is, and because like in order for you to meet somebody else, you got to solve that riddle first. Like especially considering like this is literally what I've gone through in the past year.
Yeah.
Like I literally was forced to go through this.
You and I both.
And and speaking from experience, like that relationship should have ended much sooner. But I was like determined.
What kept it going? The fear to start over?
I think I tricked myself. Like part of it was I was like, well, if it's gonna fail, it's not gonna be because I didn't put all my effort out there. Mm-hmm. I'm kind of person who likes to like make sure if it's failing, it's not because I didn't try hard enough. Mm-hmm. So it's important to me to kind of like leave it all out on the field, so to speak. And I felt like I did that. On the other hand, I also like admittedly like there were times where I knew it should have ended sooner, but yeah, it's terrifying, especially when you're like living with somebody, having to go and like figure out how am I going to go afford my own place, find a place of my own, and go and where should I live, what should I do, reestablishing that all those pieces of your life, especially when like that relationship and everything around it forms so much of who you are, that like, and then you have to talk about like, are your friends intertwined? Like that's a whole other piece of it.
It becomes your identity.
I think there's something wrong with me because none of that scares me. In fact, I almost prefer like being by myself. I don't have to consult with anybody before I do anything. I don't have to worry about this other person's feelings. It's just whatever I want to do, whenever I want to do it. And like in a relationship, everything's like a group decision and you have to be concerned about somebody else's feelings. So it's certainly not about this whole thing of I have to start over. I don't know.
You want to know what's
The
crazy,
reason
Joey?
why I brought, go ahead, Marcus.
You know,
What are you saying?
okay. Here's some crazy shit, right? The last 2 relationships I had ended exactly for the reason you just said. I don't want to tell people what I'm doing all the time. I don't want to be that guy who has to. If I say I'm going to do something, as long as you know in your heart I'm not cheating on you, you should be fine with anything I say I'm doing.
There's so much consulting.
And it's like and I'm a big believer in taking people at face value.
Mm-hmm.
If I've never given you a reason to say, hey, this is a bad situation, don't believe that it's a bad situation. Because you can't, if you do that, then you're basically leaving that person at a disadvantage no matter what they do.
Trust is difficult for a lot of people, Marcus, especially women. They've been treated poorly and lied to for a lot.
Here's the thing about trust. Here's the thing about trust as far as men go. I don't trust any of these bitches. I don't care how it goes. I don't trust any of them. I believe in myself that I've made good decisions, so I let shit go. That is the difference. You don't need to trust anybody. I don't trust Joey. And this is probably the closest relationship I have. I don't trust Joey in the fact that I wouldn't go, okay, everything I have, I would entrust in Joey. There's nothing that I would not, that everything I own in life is divided amongst like 5 different people.
Okay.
My life insurance policies, they're divided amongst 5 people. My all my bank accounts, there's no sole beneficiary for anything in my life.
Oh yeah, well you shouldn't trust me with money. That's been proven. I've given you no reason to.
Daughter, that's the sole beneficiary. I would think
my daughter's not the sole beneficiary, but until she's 18, my daughter there will be guardians over everything.
Oh yeah, of course, because she's a minor.
It is groupthink until she turns 18 when she gets control of everything. But at this current moment, I don't trust a single person.
Her mom, I guess, at this current moment.
No, it doesn't go to her mom. Why the fuck?
Well, because that's her guardian to help her.
No,
to look up her money.
No, my okay. Out in all honesty, my beneficiaries right now are my brother and sister, so they get to decide how life works. If I die tomorrow, they get to decide how everything everything I own goes to the 2 of them, and they get to decide what goes from there. Okay. And I made that decision a long time ago. So because it goes, all right, I trust them. I trust the 2 of them to make decisions together very well.
Mm-hmm.
I don't trust a single person to make a good decision.
You shouldn't.
I don't because like true when they put the decision on whether or not when my mom passed away and they put the decision on me, hey, you think you're gonna be able to tell a doctor to stop resuscitating her? I went, I don't fucking know. I looked at them all around the corner. I went, I don't know. That's a group thing. That's like the whole family going to tell me to do.
Well, that's something that you leave in your will. What are your wishes? If you wish to not resuscitate,
I ain't got no wishes.
You do. You tell your whoever is the executor, whoever's your power of attorney, whoever's going to speak for you. You tell them what your wishes are. Do you want to be resuscitated or not? That's how that works.
The next woman I'm with, I will trust them wholly and completely, and I will tell them every day. That's my new love language. Telling you out loud, I trust you. That's how you know Marcus loves you. If he looks you right in your face and says, I trust you.
Hold on. So the reason why I brought this whole thing up is that, his son's, he's Indian, he's Muslim, his family is devout Muslim. And like marriage is like a big thing for them. It's like their whole goal in life is you get married and you have these kids.
Mm-hmm. And
it's like, for me, I've never cared about marriage. Like I'm not one of these women who like feels like being a wife is like my goal in life, and I'm don't have worth if I'm not a wife. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that are like trying to tell you to get married, probably like 90% of them are married and fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So it's like you're not a good advertisement for this institution that you're pushing on me. And I was just wondering if that is my experience, that most of the people that I know that are married are not happy, or if that's in general, most of the people that are married are just not happy. So that's why I was asking.
I find that one of the 2 people is happy. If you look at in the marriage, if you look at most marriages, one of the 2 people is happy.
Really?
Yeah, but you should go by
most marriages.
But you shouldn't be grading
like both people are happy or both people are miserable.
You shouldn't make any judgments about marriage as a whole based on what's surrounding you. It's a decision everybody has to make for themselves with the person they're with, and you decide as a together if that's a good fit for what your goals in your life are going to be.
Mhm.
Like if you're gonna be together, you might as well, because like there's a
Mhm.
lot of benefits from just cohabitating tax purposes. Like there's
Right, of
sometimes,
course.
so if you're together for like 5 or 6, 7 years, then I mean you might as well have been married during that time. It's like there's plenty of things you could do precautionary from like prenup standpoint for the social contract aspect of it. And if you're in a long-term relationship, it
You're
is
damn near
kind of
married anyway.
it doesn't like it's you're married, you're unofficially married. It's just like hemming
But
and
that's
hawing over
exactly
titles.
what I'm talking about, Joey. People who get married just because we might as well. And they're stuck in this thing and they're miserable.
Well, but that's a different problem. Like either you've at that point you should know either I want to keep this going or I don't. And if you're getting married just to get married because you're afraid to be alone,
And I'm not, no.
well then I mean if it's anything other, like, to me, if
If it's anything other than love,
you
you
don't
shouldn't get married. Truthfully,
like,
if you're not in love with that person,
if you're in
you
love
should
with,
never marry that person.
yeah, and even then, you could love somebody and then you're just not a good fit for each other. If you love each other and your
You
life
fit.
together, like living a life together, creating a life together makes sense, then yeah, there's no reason not to do it.
I think that it's just that the marriages that I know, they don't seem happy. And I think, like, to Marcus's point, like, do you love each other? These people who are married, they got married, so they must have loved each other at some point.
Not
That's
necessarily.
Well, see, there's
and they fucking hate each other. So is it marriage? Is that the part that makes you miserable?
Well,
Because
people
No.
change.
if they married each other, they must have loved each other at some point. Is what
so
I think.
here's the couple pieces of it, right? There's a lot of things that we marriage is such a complex organism in a sense, because people have been doing it wrong forever. Like you have so many different ways people look at marriage, so many different ways, so much pressure that's been put on it historically. Like you kind of need to level set and stop looking at it from the historical record of what happened with marriage, because historically we've done marriage wrong for so many years, and we've done we're still working on getting relationships right, let alone marriage. So if you stopped looking at first look at the relationship part of it itself, a lot of the people who are getting married and are miserable is because of one of several things. One, one person was in love with the idea of the other person and not the reality.
Yep.
And as you're now tied together, you start to realize that what you thought you were committing to isn't who you thought you were committing to.
Right.
That's just a self-awareness thing. Other thing, sometimes people get married before they finish figuring out who they are individually.
They are, yes.
And that's very common. A lot of people especially there's pressure to get married young and do that kind of thing. So you see those kind of patterns and that's where that like people changing comes in, is because you are getting married before you're
figured out yourself.
If you're two adult, emotionally mature people, you should be able to get into a relationship and know who you're with, and you should be able to go into a marriage with confidence that you're going to stay who you are at that point. If one of you is ahead of the other, you have to consider that as part of the process, and you need to make sure that that's okay. But you need to not look at the other person with rose-colored glasses. Is one of the biggest issues. The other thing is, like, some people get married and haven't even tried living together yet, which is a huge mistake. Like if you're gonna like cohabitate after, you should be cohabitating before.
I don't. Okay, all right. So I agree. In my secular life as a human, I agree wholeheartedly. But in my newly found spiritual life, that goes against the principles of most religious dating. Most religions believe that you should not cohabitate.
I'm aware of this. And with all due respect, fuck that.
Right.
That's not respectful.
Most
You can't say all,
religions
you can't say all due respect and say
cohabitate.
fuck that.
I can say a lot of other things I want to say because
Right.
religions get me triggered with this bullshit.
Yeah, me too.
But
Me too.
like it doesn't make it's not with what we're trying to do anymore. You know, you can't tell me to go and be faithful and have all these rules around my marriage, but not let me figure out who I'm marrying.
Exactly. So not cohabitating before, not sleeping with the person before you're married. Like these are things that you need to know. Am I physically compatible? Can we cohabitate together? These are things you definitely need to know before you marry somebody.
True, you do. I agree, you do.
And-
I do. And I've done it.
And-
So it's not like I'm sitting here from a hypocritical standpoint and going, "Nah, you can't do that. That's wrong." No, I agree.
I mean,
But
look
I also see the benefits of not doing it.
look at who we were talking to about last week, the Derek Jackson bullshit,
Uh-huh.
and these gurus. People are still going to these type of people for advice on relationships, and these fuckers don't know what the fuck they're talking about. As long as people are going to these type of people for advice, you're gonna the Steve Harveys and the other freaking nitwits, all who have had problems, and they're gonna try to act like they know what the fuck they're talking about.
Okay, I agree.
There's a lot of
I'm not-
confirmation bias and a lot of other issues. There really needs to be. I highly recommend. Romani Malco is a really good follow. He puts out a lot of good content talking about emotional maturity and some of the things that go along with that. One of the biggest issues in like 90% of relationships, not even marriage, just relationships. How about even just between people? How about being mature enough to know how to express your emotions in a constructive manner?
And it takes a while to learn that. And if you think about our parents' generation, they were getting married and having kids at like 22 years. Like my parents had me, they're 22 years old. Do you know who the fuck you are when you're 22?
No.
That is like fucking several
Well, here's okay.
Well,
Right.
you also think that whole generation was around, like, if you express emotions, you're soft. So everything was repressed. We've been taught, conditioned to repress shit for decades. Even our generation struggling to shake off.
Men specifically are taught to, not the women.
Right.
The men were taught to not express themselves emotionally.
Okay, here's where we diverge fully in this conversation. It's a different world we live in today
Mhm.
than those people of the past.
Mhm.
Okay, when your parents got married at 22 and had you,
Mm-hmm.
they came from the life that was around them made it necessary for them to do that.
Right.
It wasn't where we are today, where that doesn't necessarily have to be an option, because the family unit was the only thing that was going to keep society from collapsing. We've learned that that's not true anymore, especially in the Black community. We've learned that family unit and that family structure was not necessary to keep everyone good to a certain degree. Now we've gotten to the point where these individuals who aren't married, who are single, who've chosen to be single, who've chosen to live their life as such, are now better voices and better gauges of mental health than people who were in relationships early and people from that generation. So we're at a point where those things are starting to clash with one another. So now you have people like me who have sat in both worlds. Because again, I came from a single mom, but I watched my dad grow a family, and it's one of those things where you look at it and you go, okay, both of those I can see.
I did too.
Yeah, you did as well.
And that was basically our generation. Like the millennials are literally this like weird pocket of change where we have all these like bad old historical traits that we were raised with as normal. Like, this is what you do. There's so many things we picked up, and like including some like homophobic shit. I mean, like I was like, our whole generation was going, that's gay. And not even thinking of, and the funny part is most of us weren't even thinking about homosexual people when we said that.
Yeah.
it's just the person.
That's just the was that
That's
was
just-
the
That's
that was
just
what
the
we,
phrase.
that was just the phrase
Yeah.
then. And
Mhm.
now we've had to like unlearn that habit. And
I didn't.
I'll admit there's certain things that happen when I'm playing video games that are just going to happen.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
and I try to like acknowledge when I've made that mistake, and it's not something, but it's not. But it, like at the end of the day, like that's like the millennial whole in a nutshell, right? Like we're we've gone through this period where we've watched the glass break on every single like thing that when we were under before we were 10 years old was this is the way it is. This is your family. This is your duty. These are the good things that you should be. And by the time we were teenagers, everything was falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing. And by now, like every single bit of that's wrong. We don't trust anything. We were, that was the 90s were that time where divorce and everybody was like, marriage is bullshit. Everybody was throwing marriage under the bus after years of it being forced as something that had to be done.
When you force something on people, revolt is the natural way of things.
Right.
Right.
It's never going to be as cut and dry as this was good for everybody and everyone should do it this way.
But that's sell it, right? That they sell marriage as this is what you're supposed to do. This is what you and the thing is
because
they're products of separated relationships. And I grew up with my parents being married, both parents in the whole time. And my question is this: who is a happier, healthier, emotionally adequate kid? The person who their parents who didn't love each other separated, and you had separated parents, or the person whose parents didn't love each other but they stayed together, and then you grew up in that home watching a loveless marriage.
It's not based on that. That's the problem.
Yeah, we used to base it on that. It's the kid. It's the thought now is the kid. It's the person individually and how they view the world. That shapes you to a degree. Like that can
definitely shapes
that
you.
can turn you into a whore as if your mom, say your dad was out sleeping with multiple women.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen it your whole life, and you think that's the way it's supposed to be. You'll turn into that ideology. In some people, but in others, it could work the opposite way, where you look and go, my dad may have been out there saying he's happy, but he went home alone every night, and I didn't see the happiness that I could get from a steady relationship. So it depends on the person. It doesn't depend on what their parents did.
I can't speak to your experience. Mine was essentially this. I don't think it's necessarily based on the parents one way or the other. The kid. I think it's based on the parents, but in the respect of who are you to the kid? How are you to the kid in either state? Are your kid, if your kids are your world, then it doesn't matter. You could be separated together, whatever allows you to put the kid first, that's going to make for the better parent. And so that can be either way, right? Like if you can have parents that stay together or that are together and raise a kid, but you can also have parents that are together and like they're too busy fighting to put the kid first or raise the kid first. You could have parents that are separated and they both are able to put the kid first because they don't have that tension anymore. But you also could have them separated and the one parent still does, but the other parent moves on. And it can because it can be hard to kind of stay attached but not be. And it makes it hard. A lot of people don't like you. Once you get that separation, it's hard to both be invested in the kid despite being apart.
Yeah.
That's a challenge, but it can be better. But it all just depends on for the kid. My experience was when, because my parents separated when I was about 9 or 10. And up until that point, my dad was like my hero. Like I was the first kid, and I remember wanting to be just like him every single bit. I was like, I want to get dad's approval. I was definitely that kid. And then when he started seeing my now stepmother, that shifted. And it was very obvious that it shifted and that energy shifted, and it affected me. It had a very deep effect on me for a very long time. And so, that's what really is going to make or break the development. Now, I turned out okay. I think.
You could say that
more or less.
You're good. You're good. You just need a hug every now and again. You're good.
But that's, I think, at the end of the day, you could be together. You could be together or apart. It doesn't really define how the parent you have to be. That's a covenant you have to keep with yourself, and you have to decide what kind of parent you want to be, and you can whatever allows you to do that best. But so when it comes to the separation part of it, that's.
No, I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying is that the focus on the value is on this marriage. So people who are unhappy stay together because it's like, oh, we think that having our marriage together is better for the kids. What is better for your kids is to see you happy and emotionally healthy. And if the separation is what makes you happy and emotionally healthy, then that is the thing that you should do, because it's not healthy for a child to stay and be raised with this marriage that's miserable.
Well, you never know what you're going to end up, how you're going to end up being as a person. I didn't know how happy I could be without my ex and my daughter being home with me every day. Mm-hmm. So at first it was a sad a lot, where it's like, I don't know what to do. I'm supposed to be a father. I'm supposed to be husband ish in that situation. And it goes, all right, well, I'm not supposed to be that. Other people have done it. I'll be different, and I'll just be dad. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. But then you make what tends to happen in that aspect. You stop making life a priority, and you make the child the only priority, and then you don't live.
Yeah.
So then you close yourself off. So then your kid not only sees you as alone, but then sad alone, and only worried about them all the time, and not focused on the rest of the things that should be focused on as a person.
Right.
Which and because again, it's again, that's the reason why the mythos of the family needing to be together exists, because you should have a partner that will pull you out of, if they're really your partner, they should be able to pull you out of all that immaturity and make you a better person for the family.
Yeah.
So that's relationship should make you better and not worse. Yes,
the relationship, and that's where so to circle back on why these relationships are bad, it's because one of the partners isn't doing their part to build that other person to where they should be, or they can't, because that's not the person you're supposed to be with. Because it's not in them to do that. If I like AB and my partner says CD is the best thing in the world, she's never going to get me. So if I'm married to her, we're always going to be doing CD shit, and my AB stuff's going to get pushed to the back burner. And that's when that angry partner.
You just have to have a trade-off. You have to have, you can have.
No, that doesn't need to be a trade-off. It doesn't need to be. It doesn't. There is a person. That's what I've come to learn. It doesn't need to be a trade-off. If you are not, you can't be content in marriage. You can't be content and actually be in a successful, happy marriage. I don't see that as working, because something's going to fall by the wayside that maybe you don't. Okay. Here's how I'll make it. Here's how I'll make it normal for you. Normalize it. Okay. You like having sex. Your partner only wanted to have sex 3 times in the entire time you've been married, but you love her. So you stayed, and you became content in masturbating in your leather chair, in your fabric
Stop
chair.
Talking about my grandfather. That's fucked up.
Enough. No, this has to make it real for you. You've become comfortable in masturbating in that chair for 60 fucking years because you're content in the relationship. I would go back those 60 years as the person I am now, looking at that relationship and go, dude, get the fuck out.
Yeah. No. It's not healthy. And
it's not.
That's different though. Like,
that's not the same. I'm sorry I pulled your grandfather.
No. I mean, like you can have, you're never going to have the, like, you agree on everything, but you need to just, this is like when it goes back to, like, it's so important to understand who you are.
Yeah.
And appreciate and know what you appreciate, and know what the things that are important to you, and be able to express that.
Everyone should have their non-negotiables.
And it's not even non-negotiable.
No, it's non-negotiables. It should be some shit that you just cannot do without. I don't believe that I should be able to. I don't believe that a partnership should have me push something that is non-negotiable for me as a person.
No. I agree. Like, you should absolutely have some non-negotiables. You should be allowed to have some non-negotiables, and you need to basically make sure that should be a very early on conversation, right?
Yes.
If we have non-negotiables and we each have one that are in our opposites,
we need to separate.
That's not going to work.
Yeah.
There's a doomsday button coming for us one way or another.
Me and Candace have not discussed our non-negotiables yet. That's why our relationship is so strong today.
There are some things where you can go, look, I can, where you can find middle ground, or you can, work some things out where it's like there's like, even my current relationship, I knew she didn't care about football like within the first 5 minutes, but I made sure she understood this is a big part of my life. So it really behooves this working if you're open to it, or at least tolerate it, but at least appreciate. And it goes back to, I was talking about this during the quarantine. There's a big difference between accepting something someone likes and appreciating it.
Yes.
And I feel like one of the things that is going to make or break some of these relationships, and has over the past year, is, do I appreciate the things that I don't care for that my partner cares for? Because if I can appreciate why it's important to them, even if it's not important to me, I'll be able to understand that they need some time to do that. If I accept it, it's gonna eventually wear on you.
Yeah.
When you're in that, when you're exposed to it on a regular basis, like and quarantine kind of was that, like, compressed, concentrated version of life for a lot of people. And so those things that you accepted, now that's being really put to the test. So and it goes back to like, again, being able to express that stuff. So yeah, express your non-negotiables, express the things you like. Don't be afraid to go. Those things should never fall by the wayside. Nothing should fall by the wayside unless it was like really like, okay, I said that, but do I really want that? There's some things that you can decide, like, okay, I grew out of this, because that happens too. Mm-hmm. There's some things I used to do that I'm like, meh. If I get to do it now.
I think that, like, discussing non-negotiables, like for our parents' generation, that wasn't an option. It wasn't like, okay, we're not compatible in these areas, and these are my non-negotiables, so we can't be married. That was never an option for them. No, they just had to deal with that shit.
And a lot of that is, and I know this is probably going to be
and they weirdly wore it as a badge of honor too.
Yeah, like people from that generation are like, oh, we've been together for 57 years, and it's like this badge of honor, but you've been miserable for 52 of them.
You could see the scars. You could see the scars of that relationship on their face.
Yeah, and I believe, and this is an unpopular opinion, men take the brunt of that, because men have been trained, especially since we've at some point we found out that we have to have a woman for some reason, and we have to make her happy all the time in order to keep my home happy wife, happy life.
Yeah,
that became the nonsense retort after WW2, I guess, when all them servicemen came home and started beating their wives, and they were like, she ain't happy, you ain't gonna have her for long. It's like, no, that's not how this works.
I literally had an ex, and we had a conversation after the relationship had ended, and she wanted to do something or whatever, and I said something kind of mean, and she's like, haven't you heard of happy wife, happy life? Like, yeah, I have. I tried that, didn't work. And then she was like, oh yeah, you're right.
Because happy husband.
She's like, yeah, you didn't really do anything that wasn't going to make me happy. Yeah, but
happy husband doesn't matter at the end of the day. Like the happy wife in the long run is a good thing, but a happy husband, as long as you're making money and coming home every day, you might as well be happy.
Happy wife, happy simp.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to.
Yikes.
That's it. And
this was an interesting rabbit hole that we've gone down.
That's most of our show.
I didn't mean to take us into a therapy session today. That was not my intention. But it's just something that's been on my heart and on my mind. So I kind of wanted to bring it to the podcast and see what you guys thought. I just feel like, for the most part, the marriages that I know are not happy ones. But these same people that are in unhappy marriages are trying
telling
to
you
push
to get married
on others. They're like, yeah, you should get married. I'm like, bitch, you are miserable. Why are you telling me to get married? So
ask them why.
If that was my experience alone or if other people felt that way as well.
People need to start being honest and having honest conversations. When somebody asks me something stupid, I go, why? That makes it okay. Why? Okay, I should get married. I should have more kids. Why? What about what you're telling me to do right now works for me? And that'll stop them from talking to you, A. And it'll stop them from giving you pointless advice, B. What I've learned when you do that, people tend to think you're an asshole, and I'm good with that now.
There are only two people you should talk to about that: yourself and your partner.
True.
No one else's opinion matters. No one else's experience matters. It's what's right for you and your partner and the future of your relationship.
And the same thing goes with kids.
Where you want it to go.
Same thing goes with kids. The only people that should have conversations about kids are the parents that made them and the parent themselves. I am a staunch believer in that. I agree. I believe wholeheartedly that no one else has to pay the bills for an individual. You only have to pay the bills for yourself. No one else in this world has to pay them for you. So you have no say in what I do with my life. And I think Candace left the conversation. It's just us. I think she got upset by that. I think she wanted more say in what I do. But I'm gonna give her more say, Joey. I'm gonna let her talk about what I do. If she wants me to lose weight, I'll do it. Because I make a happy wife out of her. I don't know what happened on that. Did she lead the conversation?
I don't know.
Is she trying to?
Yeah, no.
Trying to call back in?
She
left. Like I can see us on the screen.
Mine's delayed, so I didn't see that
Yours
until just now. I thought that might be where you were going.
Oh man, but we've gotten to the end, Joe.
Do you want to do a real rapid fire on the topics we promised our audience we would talk about today?
All right, rapid fire. Let's hit them.
All right. So DMX had a bit of an episode and is not in a good state.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug. Oh. There she is.
Back.
Yeah, you're
Sorry.
back. All right, we're gonna hit the rapid fire dot comedy shit, and we're gonna hit on these topics real quick, and we can get out of here for the week, Candace.
Okay.
All right. So DMX is still in the hospital right now. He is in a medically induced coma.
Some of his 15 kids are among the hospital visitors.
Oh, is that what they said? A medically induced coma? Because the last thing that I heard was that he was like doing better or whatever when his attorney said that he was like, okay. Do you remember that statement that he made?
No, the latest is that he remains in the ICU in a vegetative state.
Yeah, he's in a medically induced coma. He had a heart attack.
Holy shit. And it was because of what? A drug overdose?
Yeah.
God damn it.
He's been a crackhead for years.
Old to be doing drugs. He's like 52.
He's been a crackhead. You can't take crackhead out of crackheads. I've known enough crackheads in my life, and they don't stop being crackheads because they get older. They just
can't do drugs over 50. You gotta fucking stop.
Yeah, you can. Oh man, what happened? Something new happened?
So it sounds like the way I'm reading this, it's kind of just they're there to say goodbyes at this point.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Oh no!
Yeah, and here's the mess. The extra salt on that wound is because of COVID restrictions, they can only have one child go see him at a time. So it's gonna take like 15 visits for him to see all the kids, or for all the kids to see him.
It's 15 hours out of a 25-hour day. 24-hour day. That sucks, man.
15 kids. Jeez.
You didn't know he had that many kids?
I did not know he had that many kids.
Yeah, he has a lot.
That's a lot.
How many baby mamas?
I think
9 different women.
9? Oh, okay.
It says here.
Good Lord.
So I know he cheated on his wife a bunch of times. That's a crackhead, man. I feel bad for him because I love DMX. DMX is still one of my like top 5 rappers of all time in my book. But again, I don't feel I feel empathy, not sympathy for crackheads. It's never been that way. It's always been that way for me. I don't do any drug that will inhibit my ability to wake up every morning.
He's not a crackhead. What was the drug that OD'd on?
Crack.
It's not crack.
This particular
article
does not.
It was
specify.
crack. He's been a crackhead for years.
There's no way.
Did you watch it? Did you watch the Rough Riders documentary on BET?
I did not.
They talk about his crack addiction in a large portion of that. Like one episode is about his crack addiction.
Oh wow.
So he's been a functioning crackhead for a number of years. He's overdosed like 3 times. This isn't the first time.
Damn.
So it's not like it's. I would want him to be better, but again,
it doesn't reference the drug other than the rapper claims his problems with addiction began when he was tricked into smoking crack at 14. So,
he's had crack problems his whole life.
Tricked into smoking crack.
Yeah, somebody put crack in a blunt that he was smoking when he says that a rapper that he looked up to was smoking on a blunt and it was laced with crack and he didn't know it and he took a hit of it and he's been chasing that high ever since.
Who's the rapper?
Just a no-name Yonkers rapper.
They didn't say who it was.
Well, they said his name in the documentary, but he never made it anywhere. So, and he denies ever giving DMX drugs or anything else. So,
oh, gotcha.
It's so weird because he was on Versus like a couple of months ago.
He was high that night. Guarantee.
He looked a mess that night.
He did.
This is true, but we usually don't expect something like that to hit like that. And it just seems like it was so recently. But speaking of Versus,
I'm sorry. Am I? That was a good segue. I'm gonna step on it for a second. Do I sound harsh with my like depiction of this? Because it seems like you two are going, "Oh, I can't believe it." No.
I mean, I get it. It's just it sucks. It sucks. Anytime we've lamented like all these other people that we've talked about who died in the past year, who were beloved at one point in time for different reasons.
Yeah.
And were a big part of our lives as celebrities. And DMX is there too. And the fact that he's dying at a much younger age than some of the other ones is it still sucks. Even if there are reasons for it, it's like, yeah, okay, he couldn't get his addiction under control, but we didn't react this way when Robin Williams killed himself. Like that was universally viewed as a tragedy too. And I don't see this as being any different. Like that's the problem, right? We look at somebody who's struggling with addiction and like, okay, how is this any different than Chester from Linkin Park committing suicide?
True.
Like we just, because it's crack and it's has a stigma,
stigmatized, and
it's his fault.
Okay, yeah, true.
It's that crack is such like a poor man's drug, and we see DMX as the successful person. So it's like crack.
Crack is polarizing. Crack is one of those things where when you say a crackhead, you have immediate thoughts of what a crackhead is, and you don't let that go.
Right.
And
there's a judgment on being a crackhead, right? And we think that DMX is above that, but he isn't apparently.
I knew he wasn't when I saw him sweating at the Cash Money Rough Riders tour. He sweated a little too much to just be on stage with a jumper on. He's wearing a jumper, sweating through the jumper. Nigga, you ain't got a shirt on, and you wearing boxers.
On that Versus, but he just looked old and overweight.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was crack.
That was because he had just got out of rehab for the Versus. Just so we all aware. But
speaking of Versus, did you guys see the Isley Brothers versus Earth, Wind and Fire? I didn't see it, but Black Twitter is a buzz about
You see what you did?
what I do.
No,
What
Marcus
I
did. I nailed that exact segue, and then he stepped on it. So you,
So you can do it. I gave it to you. Happy wife, happy life. You see how that works, Candace? See how I gave that one to you? I handed it right over to you, dear.
Well, thank you. Did you guys see it? Because I did not.
So make sure I got the big piece of chicken tomorrow night. All right. What happened? I didn't watch it either.
I couldn't get my girlfriend into it.
You weren't gonna.
It was weird that I was the one who was like,
You pushing it? Yeah.
But it's Earth, Wind, and Fire, Odyssey Brothers. She's like, so it's old. Like that was
It's old people.
They said Steve Harvey was acting a fool. Like he did like a 5-minute set between each song.
Oh my God. Dude would not, it wasn't even that funny. He's just telling stories. And it's like, dude, we're not here for this.
That was Steve Harvey's wet dream right there.
Come on, D Nice. And then they play the next song.
That wasn't that Living for the Love of You.
I'll
Was
say
out
this: no other verses has ever had a host. So why did Steve Harvey even needed?
I don't even know.
Well, because Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers combined age is 297.
That's part of it.
You can't expect them to hold that show together in 2021.
They would have just fine without a host. Every single song that they have is a classic. They did not need a host. I don't understand why that happened.
They would have forgot They would have forgot the DJ's name. They would have. They just sit there and started because I saw Ron Isley start singing the song as the track was playing. I saw that video and I was like, "Wait, is he singing?" He
was hot grandpaing very well that night because everybody was all talking about Ron.
Oh yeah, Ron Isley is the man. He. If it wasn't for R. Kelly, no one would know who Ron Isley is anymore because everybody would have forgot about him long ago. Candace wouldn't have forgot about him.
Inaccurate. Puffy sampled an Isley Brothers song for Biggie's most popular hit. I Love It When You Call Me Big Papa. That's sampled from an Isley Brothers song.
Yeah, I know that is. But if that was in 93, R. Kelly put out music with the Isley Brothers from 99 to 2005. I mean that kept them relevant into the new millennium.
I have various influences that exposed me to both those groups throughout.
Yeah, you got Zach. Ninja Knox kept them alive in your mind.
When I was a kid, my dad would listen to oldies. So they would inevitably come up on the radio just
well, as Candace knew them when she was in the formative years of her life. New hit records.
All right, so Billboard has a scoreboard. Oh, by the way, at one point, Tyrese chimed in talking about, and I hate that my mother drank so much, but I'm glad she's the reason I know music. It was, it was like so unnecessary, such an unnecessary.
That's a Tyrese moment right there.
Exactly. It was a great snapshot of everything that he is.
Yeah, because it's that one-liner he has in every Fast and Furious movie. What the fuck's Tyrese doing here? Hey man, I remember when mom was drinking and smacking me in the head, but I used to love the Isley Brothers. Where the hell did we come to this? What are you doing here? Black tie. What are you doing?
What is happening right now?
Yeah.
I need to know. Someone said that Verdine looks like the preacher from Coming to America, and I thought that was.
How did Verdine age that bad?
It was not a good. He needs to let that haircut go.
Yeah.
That's really what it was.
Let that concholine just wash down the toilet.
His whole outfit with the pink pants and the white jacket and that long straight hair.
He's been trying to be something.
Don't
something like a pimp for a number of years. That's what it was with them. Like they were pimps back in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Like that whole look they all had was pimp shit.
Yeah.
Like I remember I used to watch like blaxploitation movies, and that's how all of them dressed. Mm. And the way they look now is they kept that shit alive for the 70 years they've been performing, and now it's like, yeah, y'all need to sit the fuck down with this nonsense right now. Did they do September?
I don't know. I have to go.
They had to do September.
Well, here's so Billboard.
Had to. How could they not?
Billboard has a scorecard.
Okay.
Round one was Isley Brothers, Love the One You're With versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's That's the Way of the World, which they scored one for Earth, Wind, and Fire. Round two was This Old Heart of Mine Is Weak for You by Isley Brothers versus Let's Groove. And Let's Groove won that one. Round three was Isley Brothers, Hello, It's Me versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Keep Your Head to the Sky.
The Earth, Wind, Head to the Sky should have won.
Point or Isley Brothers, according to
Earth, Wind, and Fire pulled out all their greatest hits in the first half of the jump.
Next, round four, Isley Brothers, At Your Best, You Are Love versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Reasons.
Whoa! Ooh!
That's hard. That's hard.
That's
Ooh.
They gave the point.
At Your Best.
They gave the point to Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay.
Round five, Isley Brothers, Harvest.
You know how I would gauge that. I would gauge that on which song Candace would want to play the night after our nuptials. Whichever song you want playing in the background when we.
At Your Best.
At Your Best. I know it would be.
Isley Brothers, Harvest for the World versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Got to Get You Into My Life.
I don't know either of those songs.
They gave it to Isley Brothers. Round six, Isley Brothers, Groove With You versus Earth, Wind, and Fire, Love's Holiday.
Groove With You.
That was scored as a tie.
I would have took Groove With You on that one.
I don't know what they're using to make these. I'm just
white
reading.
people logic.
This is Billboard's shit.
It's white people logic.
Round seven, Isley Brothers, Summer Breeze versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Be Ever Wonderful.
Summer Breeze.
Yeah, I would go, and then they did get the point on this one too. Round eight, Isley Brothers, It's Your Thing versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Devotion.
It's Your Thing.
I Devotion on that one.
They gave the point to Isley Brothers. I would too, personally. Round nine, Isley Brothers, Make Me Say It Again, Girl versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's After the Love Is Gone.
After the Love Is Gone.
After the Love Is Gone. No contest.
Yeah, Earth, Wind, and Fire took that one. Round 10, Isley Brothers, Footsteps in the Dark versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Shining Star.
Footsteps in the Dark.
It was a tie, so I don't think I know Footsteps in the Dark.
I know the melody in my head.
I have to withdraw myself from the contention there because I only know the one song.
Marcus, cue it up for the next break. Footsteps in the Dark.
Well, the next break is the break home.
Yeah, we're coming in on the outro.
The show.
Round 11, Isley Brothers, Twist and Shout versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's featuring the Emotions, Boogie Wonderland.
Boogie Wonderland would take that.
Boogie Wonderland did take that one. Round 12, Isley Brothers, Choosy Lover versus Earth, Wind, and Fire, On Your Face.
Choosy Lover.
They gave that to, that's the way it fell. Round 13, Voyage to Atlantis versus Brazilian Rhyme.
I don't know.
Voyage to Atlantis.
It was a tie, according to this. Round 14, Isley Brothers, Here We Go Again versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Sun Goddess.
I don't know.
I don't know. They gave it to Earth, Wind, and Fire. Jesus, there's how many rounds were there?
21.
I mean, they got like 40 years of hits.
No, actually, there were. Holy crap, 25.
They did 25.
Yeah,
they had. I think they had to go bigger on theirs than they normally do. They normally only do 10 to 20.
It was That Lady versus September for round 25.
Wow, that's a hard one. Did they go with September?
They gave it to Earth, Wind, and Fire on here. The other ones were Shout versus Easy Lover. Why would that?
That shouldn't be a matchup.
I don't even get how Phil Collins is involved in this.
That's what I'm saying. Easy Lover is only a Phil Collins song.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was
Philip Bailey featuring Phil Collins is the way it was.
Okay, so they did features too.
Apparently.
So then Easy Lover, did that one win?
No.
That's my favorite Phil Collins song.
It lost to Isley Brothers on that one. I mean, the Isley Brothers featuring JS Busted versus Earth, Wind, and Fire's Magic Mind.
I don't know either of those songs.
There's a lot of extra shit in here.
So did they do any R. Kelly? Because I want to know if Mr. Big came out of retirement to look into some of these songs here, because I would think they would have.
Those In the Closet songs should have not been brought to
the
does
not. No, those don't have Mr. Big in them.
It does not appear to be so.
Ron Isley as Mr. Big is the greatest character to ever been cheated on multiple times by anybody in any situation.
So wait, Easy Lover is an Earth, Wind, and Fire song?
Apparently,
Their feet. The guitarist is featured in Easy Lover.
I did not know that.
the way it's
I love
written,
my
it's
favorite Phil Collins song.
they credit Philip Bailey as the. It says it's him featuring Phil Collins. Actually,
Oh,
Yeah, Philip Bailey and Phil Collins did Easy Lover together. So Philip Bailey is a part of Earth, Wind, and Fire?
yes.
Oh, okay. I
You
don't
should
why I
know that.
wasn't
You were
aware.
around back then.
and to
I like how she gets quiet whenever I say that. But who did they score was the final winner? In the,
I already closed it. Earth, Wind, and Fire.
You gonna say Earth, Wind, and Fire?
I think so.
You think so? All right.
I feel like the Isley Brothers have a couple hits that I would say, like, could top even some of the best that Earth, Wind, and Fire has.
Oh, they
but-
put Contagious in there.
But Earth, Wind, and Fire has so many more. Like their depth of their depth chart is too high.
They both have literally 30 years of hits. Like,
I didn't know they put Contagious. That's the song with them and R. Kelly.
Oh,
It's a great song.
It's 2 a.m. just getting in about to check my message. No one is called, but
He is the smoothest cheated on man in history.
was this playing at Paul Pierce's house?
It was. Because Paul Pierce decided to celebrate the verses in a completely different fashion.
And we'll close with this.
Yeah. We'll get out of here on this one.
Paul Pierce has been fired from ESPN.
Candace, you know who Paul Pierce is? Candace fall down drunk.
I do not know who Paul Pierce is.
Paul Pierce was a 7-time All-Star for the Boston Celtics,
Mhm.
who's now a commentator for the NBA on ESPN,
On ESPN.
or was.
Or was he?
Until a few days ago, when he decided to inexplicably live stream a poker game at his house,
Mm-hmm.
in which there were several strippers just about and twerking.
Oh, I saw this, that they had so what was the problem?
He works for Disney.
He's
And he had a PG-13 night in his G-rated company.
He is a grown man at his own house. If he wants to have strippers, it's okay. But not if you're like a spokesperson for Disney.
yeah, and he basically went live on Instagram with it.
Mhm.
Well,
But from what I was reading earlier, he wanted to quit anyway. I think he was done with ESPN. And I think this was just his way of leaving. Which is it's an ingenious way of leaving. Like but it calls the question, Joey and Candace.
Mhm.
Can I get fired for what I say on this show? Like like we live stream this every week.
well, social media is a thing now, right? So in yesteryear it was not, but nowadays things that you say on social media you're liable for in your real life. So yes, you can get fired for things that you say on this podcast or on Twitter or that you post on Facebook. I've seen it happen in real time.
Like you've seen actual regular people get fired behind the shit.
Yeah, people posted something on Facebook and get fired for it. I've seen it. Yep.
Like I've fired someone for posting negative things about the company on social media.
Yep. Or when you're trying to get hired, they'll do a social media search on you. Like things that I've said on Twitter, whenever I am looking for a job, I put my Twitter private.
I keep all my social media private anyway. Like you can't.
Yeah. Because I wild the fuck out on Twitter. So it's just like, if you're trying to get hired, definitely privatize your social media during that time.
One day Candace was asking for dick print pics.
Was this because he was
Twitter
like?
one day.
I mean, basically,
yeah, you were thirsty. I was watching. I see every post you make. It's funny as hell. You're like, hey, it's sweatpants season. I was like, what the fuck is this? All right, but yeah, go ahead, Joey.
I don't. I don't understand what the like who's outraged by this? Like, what is is it because he wasn't following COVID protocol? Because he basically just made the headlock video
Yes, at his house.
at his house. It's the same video.
The headlock video
It's
is
the
hilarious.
same things.
The headlock video is hilarious. You
Oh,
ever see the,
you know
the
what?
video, Candace?
I'm sorry, they weren't
I have
making
not.
breakfast, so it's not okay.
It's not okay. But look up when you get after we finish the podcast tonight, Candace. Look up headlock, on YouTube,
Okay.
and then just
With two C's,
With two
no
Cs.
K.
and then
I
just
still
and then
don't think it's a problem for him to have strippers at his own house, at his own party. He's a grown man.
There's I don't.
as a very private man once said, you are not alone in that.
I mean, here's the thing. Paul Pierce is kind of a dickhead. Like he says a lot of stupid shit, and like we laughing at him when he does this stuff.
Mhm.
Like that's his whole.
That's your shtick.
That's his deal.
Mhm.
Like he was a guy who came out and said he had a better career than Dwayne Wade, and we all laughed at him.
Okay.
But because he's the thing he's most known for is talking shit. But and he's a terrible analyst. He says crazy, like outlandish shit about the NBA. He's the guy you love to hate. But firing him for this just seems dumb. Like we should be laughing at him the same way we always do. I don't understand. Like he got drunk and Instagrammed a party at his house.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was worth firing him for. It's not a fireable offense to have a party at your house.
Isn't.
It's not like his Instagram says he's Mickey or something. That doesn't like compute to me. He's a grown man.
It wasn't live on ESPN's air.
Yeah, he didn't put
Well,
it.
we live in a society where your social life, your private life crosses over into your professional life. So, for instance, Ray Rice beating his wife. Like, what does that have to do with him being a football player? It doesn't. But
Yeah, it does.
it doesn't have anything to do with you
It
being
has
a
everything to
football
do with
player.
you beating
Here's
your
the
wife.
thing.
Has everything to do with you being a football player.
That's assault.
Yes.
That's not what Paul Pierce didn't break any laws here. Literally nothing he did was illegal.
No, I'm not advocating for him beating his wife. I'm just
No,
saying that has nothing to do with his football stats.
Well,
That's
no,
fair, but
that's fair.
You're also like you could make the argument he got blacklisted for assault.
Yeah, it wasn't just hey, he had a friendly altercation with his wife. No, he beat his wife in the elevator, and he got fired for it.
Like unconscious. Like
Yeah,
she
knocked the
beat
shit
her
out
till
of
she
her.
dropped. Yeah. But what I'm saying is that has nothing to do with is he a good football player? What are his stats? How many times does he catch the ball, run the ball, whatever the fuck you
Oh
do?
no.
No, it has nothing to do with that piece of it, but it has everything to do with being legal. Like you should be able to live your life legally and not worry about getting fired. That's where I sit with the whole thing. It's not.
All right, so now I get your point. I get your point that what he actually did was illegal. You can't beat your wife. But my point is that
also it's not the same thing. Like the NFL has a problem with violence, and especially like this like violence towards women, and do they even care? Because there has been that history with the NFL, and they decided to use that as an example, which was fucked up. But they have been pretty consistent ever since that they don't tolerate that anymore. This ESPN doesn't, to my knowledge, doesn't have a problem with their anchors publicly partying.
No.
If that's not like, they don't need to make Paul Pierce an example of anything.
They wanted to fire Paul Pierce, and they found a reason to fire Paul Pierce. That's what happened in this situation. They wanted a reason to fire him, and they got their reason because he hit live, and that was his mistake. If he really wanted his job, maybe he'll come back on ESPN 8 The Ocho or Fox News. What's the Fox Sport one?
I mean, it's goofy because like Charles Barkley, who's still like persistently an NBA analyst, got a DUI in 2009. Told his arresting officer that he was going to drive around the corner and get a blowjob, and didn't get fired. Like,
I didn't know what to do with that. Like that hit a little different. A little different.
I just think whether or not you're fired at your job should only have to do with your performance at your job. It shouldn't have to do anything with your behavior outside of your job.
I agree to a point. There's some point where you got to go like, okay, this person's a fucked up human being, and even though they're excellent at what they do, I can't be associated with them.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, I can see that.
I could have the guy, and he could be the best, whatever
Analyst.
He could be the best. We have the best. You know, we have a guy on here who's like hilarious and gets us 1 million follows, and he's like the funniest fucking thing. He changes our whole thing. If we find out he's a serial killer, we're firing him.
True.
I don't care how talented he is.
True.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if it's something as severe as a serial killer, but I mean, just if I'm the best salesperson at my job selling cars or whatever, does me having an altercation with my wife affect my job performance? You didn't hire me to be a good husband. You hired me to sell cars, and that's what I'm doing. You know what I'm saying?
But it speaks to, it's about how public it is, right? Like if it becomes public knowledge,
mm-hmm.
and
then you become a liability.
Then you hurt the brand because you're associated with the brand, and it's when you put the brand in jeopardy. That's when it's the perception. Mm-hmm. But in Disney feels some obligation to some group of idiots. Like, they should have enough awareness to know that the people who watch anything with Paul Pierce don't care about this.
Mm-hmm. And I think they're preemptively doing it. Like, I don't think there was initial outrage for them to fire him.
No,
but they're doing it in case the moms come after them. And that's what we boil down to with this whole with the current era we live in with Me Too and Yes Ma'am and what's the other one, Joey? What other hashtag are they doing now for women's fundamentalism or whatever? What do they call it? Candace, you'll know this stuff. I don't know this stuff.
Not Me Too and Yes Ma'am. Yes Ma'am is not one of them.
What is Yes Ma'am?
That's Al Bundy's men's group.
Nemesis?
Yeah,
that was No Ma'am.
Oh, No Ma'am. Yeah, Yes Ma'am was Marcy's group. I'm married with children. Oh man, but Joe, we can get out of here, man.
Yeah,
sound like we hit the end. Yeah. Sound like we hit the end on that one. Oh man, you remember the song "Tender Kisses" by Tracy Ladislaw? Not Tracy Ladislaw.
I mean, the only other thing,
Tracy Spencer.
The only other thing we had to talk about were that guy who beat his chicken into cooking itself, and the and that guy who married his sister.
There you go. We're going to talk about that next week, man. Guess we got a guest next week, don't we, Joe?
Oh yeah, that's right. Next week we will be joined by the very funny, very talented, the best laugh in the DMV, Haywood Turnipseed Jr.
You'll know if you're when the world opens back up, if you're at an open mic and you tickle his funny bone, you'll know it, because that laugh will set loose some shit inside. I can't even imitate that motherfucker.
Don't do that.
I can't.
That laugh is so comforting.
It is.
I never had a laugh feel like a hug, but that laugh feels like a hug.
Oh man, but Joey, where can they find you on the internet, my friend?
LaFaro Comedy on Instagram. Got it right this time.
Good job.
And you always follow us at .comedy on Instagram, .comedydc on Twitter, and the .comedy podcast wherever podcasts are sold. Candace, where can they find you, my dear?
You can find me on the interwebs at just_Candace, and Candace is KANDYCE.
All right. You can find me on Twitter.
What's funny, Joey?
Okay, Candace with a Y. We get it.
And a K.
And a K, not a C.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, you can find me on Twitter at .comedydj. That's at DOTCOMEDYDJ. And on Instagram, you can find me at DJMarcus.comedy. DJ Marcus, period, COMEDY. EDY. That's right, where I post some random things every so often. I really don't post that often. I should start posting more. I'm going to start DJ posting. I'm going to start mixing for half hours at a time, and then I'll start posting those. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me at DJMarcus.comedy on Facebook. You can look at anywhere you find .comedy, you will look up and you will find DJ Marcus. And for DJ Marcus, Joey LaFaro, Candace August, we are the .comedy family, and we will see you next time on the .comedy podcast.